Thank you for joining me for another video today. I'm going to be doing a really simple little watercolor journal page. It's not art journaling in that it doesn't have loads and loads of layers. It's just a drawing, a really simple drawing that if I can draw, anybody can draw, and a little page that I've done in a normal art journal or sketchbook. It's B paper. I show you at the beginning of the downward view what the paper looks like. It's not watercolor paper, and I do a little technique with a watercolor wash and then some watercolor pencils, and it's a nice, pretty, bright, easy little page to put into your art journal, and I hope you'll enjoy it. So before we go to the downward view, I'd like to say, please, if you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please would you hit that bell icon and press the subscribe button, and then especially if you've hit the bell icon as well as subscribe, notified whenever a new video is uploaded. Thank you so much for watching the videos, and I hope that you enjoy this. So the book is actually made by B Paper Company, and it's called Super Deluxe Mix. Let me try that again. Super Deluxe Mixed Media paper. It's 6" by 6", and it's 93-pound paper or 150 GSM. It's acid-free and a natural white sheet. I think this came in a Palettefull Packs box, and I started using the little book because I liked the size, and I started using it when I was trying to do my October challenge for Inktober. So I started just with a soft pencil. I think it's a B pencil, drawing this simple little flower, and I do a kind of like a guide around the outside, just because I find it very hard to judge how far to make the petals go. You don't have to do that. It's just something I chose to do. And then following a little bit of things I've learned in the Johanna's Inky Art School drawing things, I outline the center flower with this Pigma pen. And after I'd done it, I decided I didn't want to actually outline the other flowers with the pen. Although the pen is waterproof, I decided I'm rather going to do something else. So wait and see what that something else is. So I decided to use these Giotto Stilnova watercolor pencils. So you can use absolutely any watercolor pencil you like. And my plan was that when I used the watercolors, that the watercolor pencil outline would kind of hopefully, I don't want to say bleed, but soften, I think is the word I want, into the picture, so that it's not so much an outline but more organically part of the picture. So I've done my 4 little outside flowers, and then I decide to erase all the pencil marks. I should, in retrospect, possibly have used a very light H pencil so that the marks were easier to erase. It took some elbow grease to get rid of them, and once you've covered a pencil with watercolor, you can't erase it. So just a little hint. I like doing these little vine flowers that I learned. They're so easy and they kind of add interest. I hope you don't feel dizzy with the way I keep turning this book around, but I find drawing at a certain angle easier than at other angles. So now I'm using yet again my St. Petersburg watercolor paints that I got the other day. I must say I rather like them. They're very vibrant. They're just quite sticky paints. Now, I saw in a little Skillshare class I did somebody doing this with their watercolors, which I thought was a great idea, to put some clean water in some of the pans before you add the color so that your clean water is actually clean. You could also use a pipette to do that. I'm just using a mop brush that I quite like. And then I choose my first color. I'm still not entirely sure what these colors are called. So I've just got them numbered because it all became quite confusing to me when I tried to figure them out. So not being a real artist, I just use them because I like them. So then I've got a number 6 brush. It's a nice soft round brush that I've bought I think I bought that at the Italian art shop in Rondebosch in South Africa, but any round size 6 brush would be nice. And I do a very light wash on this paper. I haven't prepared the paper with anything. There's no gesso or anything underneath that. I find using watercolor on gesso that the paint really just sits on top and doesn't do anything. So I wanted to try it on this paper, and it really wasn't bad at all. The paper didn't pill or anything. It wasn't quite the same as using nice, super high quality watercolor paper, but it was, for me, more satisfying than when I've got gesso on the page. I mean, gesso is a whole different effect, and in your art journals often essential because one's throwing so many things at the page. So I've done all 3 flowers with this red, and as I wait for it to dry, I decide to go over various details with the watercolor pencil. And again, my hope was that while there was still some dampness on the page, that the watercolor pencil would kind of bleed into it. I want to try this technique again on real watercolor paper and see what happens, because it didn't quite do what I'd imagined. It stayed put a little bit more, but the central vein or line or whatever I should call it sort of stayed there. I'm sorry about the camera going in and out of focus. I filmed this first little bit with my iPod, and I realized I can't actually use that for filming because it just goes in and out of focus all the time. So luckily later on in the video it is more in focus because I used my iPhone for the rest. So again, I'm going over trying to give some depth of color with the pencil. I really like these Giotto Stilnova aquarelle pencils. And then my favorite color combo is from red to orange and often to yellow, but if I'm using watercolor pencils, then just adding the water adds the shading. These Giotto pencils, perhaps I'll do a review on both the normal and the watercolor at some stage. In South Africa, they're scholars' pencils, not even artist student grade. They're very inexpensive pencils, but they're much more vibrant than Crayola, for instance. Maybe I should try doing a comparison between 3 different student brand or inexpensive color pencils. Let me know whether you'd like that in the comments. I'd really love some feedback as to whether this would be something that would interest you. I value your comments so much, you've no idea. So please let me know in the comments whether a video comparing these pencils would be of interest, or if you'd prefer a video comparing artist brand pencils. So now I take a smaller size 2 brush, I think it's a size 2, because I just wanted a little less water and a bit more control in spreading this. And then I decide, instead of just wetting it with water, I'm going to go over it with some more of my watercolor wash to add a bit more intensity, and you can see the outside where I used the watercolor pencil is sort of looking softer. I quite like the effect. The trouble with this watercolor set is these pans do fall out. So now I'm going to try just putting, I wanted to get a depth in the center part. So I've kept throwing more and more and more at this little sketchbook, and I did try and let the layers dry in between. I use my hairdryer periodically. I don't have a heat tool. Even darker center, and that did sort of bleed out a little bit, which I liked. And then I'm just using a damp brush to soften those edges and spread it a bit, and also trying to sort of angle the page down a bit to help. So I rinse my brush and then I semi-dry it off on a piece of kitchen paper towel in between. So now I've mixed up a wash of purple as well, and I've completed the one little flower in the corner. Busy with the next. Again, the page had dried in between. If you enjoy these kind of process videos and would like to see more of them, or to see me actually doing a proper art journal page, which is something I've just started. So my art journaling is possibly even more beginnery than my watercolor journey, but this was the whole thought process behind me starting my channel, was to share my learning process and my efforts, because I often find when we watch people that are really fantastic at something, we feel impressed and inspired, but then for me, I sometimes feel a little bit daunted and think, well, I'm never going to be able to do that. So my thought was, there are a lot of people that suffer from depression and various other mental health issues. So let me share my beginner process and maybe encourage other people that are keen to learn but have no formal art training and have always been told they can't draw and feel inadequate in some way, and to be brave and to share that with you. So I added a bit of blue to the center there just for depth, and now I'm going over the watercolor pencil here with a very fine little #1 brush, just to activate that watercolor pencil. I didn't color in the middle, I just used the water to spread from the watercolor pencil. Page is buckling a little bit. Not badly, actually. As I've said before, I'm really impressed with how it handled this watercolor, all this water being thrown at it. I do like small pages. I think when I have more confidence, a big page would be something to try, but at the moment the small page feels like I can actually fill it. I just bought a new Dina Wakley mixed media journal, which I'm very excited to start. Having a sip of water. Going through the same process here with the center and trying to add some depth. So now I decide to do a little bit of a background, a very light wash, again using my mop brush to add some color to the palette. I didn't have a green color that I liked, so I tried mixing some yellow and green together. So I just wanted a very, very pale yellow. Back to the number 6 brush. So I'd let the other parts of the little painting dry completely before I went here, because I didn't want the green going into the red or purple and making total mud. And then I try to go in while that is still damp with a very little bit of like an olivey green, just to give a slight kind of feeling of shading. And I just kind of try to wash it down and hope that it will do what watercolors are supposed to do. I've not completely perfected the technique of getting a good wash gradient yet. I do try. Whenever I have a spare moment, some spare watercolor paper, I try doing this. I love watercolors. I went a little bit over the top with that one area, which I wish I hadn't. And then using a watercolor pencil again, just try to give some definition to the center of the petals and a little bit of lines and things to add some interest. Please do let me know in the comments what you thought of this attempt, if you hated it, if you think I should give up on my attempt of learning to draw, if you think I should stop YouTubing altogether. If you like what I'm doing and you think I should keep going, what you would like me to do, what I could do that could help you, any comments, I would love to hear from you. I appreciate your comments so much. So now I decide to do some splatters with some white ink. My husband thinks that I messed up the picture completely by doing this, but I actually like them. So I'd again be interested in your opinion. Do you like splatters or don't you? I think those center bits I should perhaps have got the gradient a little bit better. But otherwise, I think it's quite a cute little picture. It's a calligraphy ink, again, something I think I got in a palette for packs around about Inktober time. I do find the things I get in those packs very useful, because I would never have bought that on my own. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this little video. Again, a little reminder to subscribe, and thank you for being here. Have a great day and a lovely week. Bye-bye.